Welcome to the Baylor Lariat Student Government Debate, produced in collaboration with Lariat TV News. I'm Grace Smith, your moderator for today's debate between candidates for external vice president at Baylor University. Let's introduce you to the candidates for this position. Our first candidate running for external vice president is Zach Tufenction, a sophomore from Hoffman Estates, Illinois. Our second candidate is Pato Pena, a junior from McAllen, Texas. Our third candidate is Christopher Sharon, Jr. from Waco, Texas. And our fourth and final candidate is Gracie Kelleher, sophomore from Sierra Vista, Arizona. Here are the rules for the debate. The candidates will have 30 seconds for an opening statement, and they will proceed in an order determined by random draw. That opening statement will be followed by a series of questions determined by student government officers, our panelists, and also by students who participated in a social media survey conducted by the Lariat. Candidates will have 45 seconds to answer the same question, and if they are called out by name by another candidate, they will have 30 seconds for a rebuttal. At the end of the debate, each candidate will have 30 seconds for a closing statement. Let's introduce you to our two panelists for this debate. Bridget Schoberg, representing the Baylor Lariat, and from Lariat TV News, April Odo. We will now begin. Candidates, it is time for your opening statements. Mr. Tufenction, you will start us off. You have 30 seconds, and you may begin whenever you are ready.
Hi everyone, my name is Zach Tufenction. I'm a sophomore studying political science, originally from the great state of Illinois. I'm coming today to run for external vice president because I believe that our campus needs a change in the EVP's office. My platform strongly runs on a platform of diversity and inclusion, not just for our students, but also our student organizations, also our Waco community as well. I hope that you'll select me as your external vice president and hear some of my ideas. Thank you.
Mr. Pena, it is your turn for opening statements. You have 30 seconds and you may begin whenever you are ready.
My name is Pato Pena and I'm here to run for your external vice president. I am a junior political science major with a legal reason analysis minor. My platform solely goes on diversity and inclusion, environmental awareness, and transparency and accountability. I wish that I have your support. I'm trying to get Waco businesses and the Waco community and our students all together involved to get a better campus.
Mr. Sharon, it is your turn for opening statements. You have 30 seconds and you may begin whenever you are ready.
There's nothing like an important home. Makes you feel good, safe, and secure. Hi, my name is Christopher Sharon. I'm a junior majoring in biology at Baylor, and I'm here to talk to you about my campaign today. My campaign is Serve with Sharon, but really it's just focusing on making it a home for you. And I plan on doing that through transparency, diversity, inclusion, and sustainability. Stay tuned as I tell you more. Thank you.
Ms. Kelleher, it is your time for opening statements. You have 30 seconds and you may begin whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Grace. Hello, my name is Gracie Kelleher, and I'm honored to be speaking with you all today. For my EVP campaign, I've chosen the slogan, Better Together, which encompasses the vision I have for this upcoming year. This academic term presents the opportunity for strengthening a number of partnerships, both within and outside of Baylor, in order to better unify the institution and community I believe we should all call home. As a student leader, I want to clearly communicate to my peers, I am on your team, it is your college experience, and your voice that matters.
We are now moving on to questions. Each candidate will be asked the same question and will have 45 seconds to respond. I will remind you when you have 5 seconds remaining. The first question is on the topic of student outreach.
Mr. Pena, do you have any specific plans in mind to help connect students to the Waco area and bridge the gap between Baylor and Waco?
Yes, my campaign runs on the fact that we want to reach out to Waco businesses because Waco is mutually as important as Baylor, and we play a larger part in the success of Waco than some of us may realize. And in order for us to be successful, we need to help and support the Waco community. So the plan is to get Waco businesses on campus, so expand the Baylor Gold program, also expand more, let's say, we want to get the apartment complexes at Baylor where it's the majority of the students live. I want to get this environmentally awareness and get them to be able to recycle. Not only that, right now we're trying to partner with a lot of the Waco businesses to enact the COVID response.
Mr. Sharon, Do you have any specific plans in mind to help connect students to the Waco area and bridge the gap between Baylor and Waco?
I do. Thank you for asking. I think Waco is such a vital just place, it's such a vital community, and the small businesses play a great part in that, coinciding with Baylor making it a great environment. And so for me, I want to focus on reaching out to the small businesses after such a big thing that's been going on lately. A lot of them probably are struggling to, either continue to stay afloat or different things like that, but just reaching out, finding ways that we can be able to help them, and then creating some type of newsletter every month, finding new ways to get involved and be transparent, as well as letting people on campus know. So meeting with organizations, different things like that, in order to ensure that it's being, we're getting all the information out there. Thank you.
Ms. Kelleher, do you have any specific plans in mind to help connect students to the Waco area and bridge the gap between Baylor and Waco?
Yes. So specifically with this time frame that we're dealing with and the general election coming up in November, through my platform point of civic and student engagement, I plan to connect with the Waco administration, governments, to enforce and encourage voter registration on campus, and then partner with them to get voting booths or voting polls on campus so that students don't have to leave, therefore limiting transportation needs. Additionally, through my point of the Big 12, I plan to engage in the Waco community through environmentalism, through Cameron Park Zoo, and just look at different efforts showcasing the Baylor and other organizations within Waco and how we can partner organizations with service organizations in Waco to overall increase community and involvement. Thank you.
Mr. Tufangshin, do you have any specific plans in mind to help connect students to the Waco area and bridge the gap between Baylor and Waco?
Well, thank you for that question, April. I think historically the External Vice President's Office has only worked with the City of Waco and a few other local organizations. However, I think we need to go bigger than that. I think we need to expand out the EVP's office and its reach into the community to smaller organizations, larger organizations, small businesses, large businesses. And my specific plans to do that are simple. I have a plan for expanding the amount of local catering options available to student organizations for their events, especially those owned by more marginalized groups in the community. I have a plan to actually increase voter turnout for this upcoming election because I've already worked on that issue through my other organizations I'm also a part of. I have a plan to work with other organizations like the Waco Advocacy Center, the Family Abuse Center, and so in my experience and working with this, we'll work with that. Thank you.
The second question will be on the topic of experience.
Mr. Sharon, how do you think your personal leadership experience and involvement at Baylor has prepared you to serve as EVP?
Awesome. Thank you. So for me, I feel like I pride myself in being the most diverse candidate and having a lot of leadership experience in different places. For me, I've had the honor to serve as a community leader on the forefront of new students at Baylor. I've gotten the honor to serve as the chaplain for my Christian fraternity, Beta Upsilon Chi, and leadership within there. I've gotten to experience leadership within and experience within being a senator, and I've gotten to experience leadership in other opportunities as well. So for me, I pride myself in being able to have a lot of different diverse backgrounds, meeting a lot of new people. And I feel like you take all that into account when handling and doing the best that I can as EVP to serve the Baylor student body. Thank you.
Ms. Kelleher, how do you think your personal leadership experience and involvement at Baylor has prepared you to serve as EVP?
Thank you. So the last 2 years, I've served on the Senate on 3 separate committees: Campus Improvements and Affairs, Operations and Procedures, and then our Diversity and Inclusion Ad Hoc Committee this past 6 months. In addition to that, I also attended the Big 12 conference this past year in Oklahoma City, planning this conference will be a large part of this role. So outside of my leadership experience at Baylor, I've attended 16 leadership conferences over the last 5 years, which I think will greatly assist in planning one this year to highlight our university and community. I believe that my firsthand experience in the legislative branch will help build bridges between the two branches to create a more solidified student government than looking outwards towards our students. Thank you.
Mr. Tufangshin, how do you think your personal leadership experience and involvement at Baylor has prepared you to serve as EVP?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think my experience during my time at Baylor so far extends well out beyond student government. Within student government itself, I have served as the Director of Student Government Policy this year, a position traditionally held by a senior. I've been able to oversee issues in affordability, diversity, inclusion, health, and also Title IX. Last year, I was one of the first freshmen ever selected for the Big 12 on the Hill Conference, where I was able to advocate for many different issues, especially for survivors of sexual violence and domestic violence. This past year, I've served as the co-president of It's on SBU, a smaller student organization where I've been able to see firsthand how much our student organizations on our campus need our help. But above all, I think the cultivation of all these experiences, being on the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, being on the Census and Housing Committee under the past EVP's office, I think will greatly assist my role as EVP.
Mr. Pena, how do you think your personal leadership experience and involvement at Baylor has prepared you to serve as EVP?
My current experience is I was a community leader at Martin Residence Hall last year, so I was able to talk to a lot of people who otherwise I wouldn't have gotten to meet, whether it was through my CL experience. And so I've gotten to hear the voices of a lot of students from different walks of life. I have the training of culture, humility. I have the experience of being part of club sports on campus, being intramural chair, and just being overall around different parts of student life. And I think that's what really brings my expertise in leadership, because I'm able to bring that to the table, not only regular student activities, whether that's be student government, because I serve on the Multicultural Engagement Committee, but something outside of just student government, where we advocate for all students on campus.
The third question will be on the topic of diversity.
Ms. Kelleher, what specific plans do you each have in place to promote diversity and ensure that all students' voices are heard and accounted for?
Thank you. So my first point of diversity, equity, and inclusion is planning a day of solidarity, focused primarily on allyship and discovering the ways we can all be better support systems of each other. Second, I want to expand the Leave Your Mark training through the Office of Multicultural Affairs, the Leave Your Mark administration, and then the Campus Diversity Committee to look at better ways to create a 4-year curriculum so that theoretically each year that students are here at Baylor, they don't see the same curriculum with that organization training. In addition, I want to put together a joint event initiative where it's a pairing system for similar organizations that have related philanthropy events joined together to pair up and host and learn more about organizations they wouldn't otherwise know.
Mr. Tufengshin, what specific plans do you each have in place to promote diversity and ensure that all students' voices are heard and accounted for?
I think diversity and inclusion is one of the biggest issues you'll hear during this election season in all 3 student body officer positions. But I think the daylight between my opponents and I is the fact that I've taken the most initiative on this issue. I've actually authored 2 pieces of legislation already, one that would establish 15 different classes, protected classes for the entry into student government, and another that would offer voting bills and voting ballots into other languages besides English, like they've historically been done. I want to expand translations across campus for our resources. We have a rising number of international students and non-native English speakers in this country, on our campus, and I believe that as EVP, I have a unique role to actually boost and come to student organizations and not force them to come to me if I were to work to promote diversity and inclusion on our campus.
Mr. Pena, what specific plans do you each have in place to promote diversity and ensure that all students' voices are heard and accounted for?
Well, first of all, I'd like to point out I did serve on the Multicultural Engagement Committee this past year. And this April, actually, we were supposed to have this big celebration called All Around the World. It was supposed to be an event where we bring all multicultural organizations from all different walks of life on Fountain Mall, so we could just have music, fun, celebration there, so we can have everyone know each other and get each other's cultures and have this cultural humility with each other. My campaign is also running on the platform of expanding cultural humility training. We feel like if that's one of the most powerful tools for CLs to build these extensive and great genuine communities. So if it's expected for CLs to have it, I think it's expected for everyone to have it.
Mr. Sharon, what specific plans do you each have in place to promote diversity and ensure that all students' voices are heard and accounted for?
Thank you. I think diversity and inclusion is one of the biggest issues that you'll see, most importantly for the fact that in order for Baylor to be a place that people can call home, they've got to feel that they can have representation in Senate and in student government. And I think that with what comes with that is first starting and making sure that my cabinet is diverse and includes all walks of life, all beliefs. And then from that point, I think I'm the person to be able to go and be able to look at restructuring Senate and restructuring student government to make it more diverse, more inclusive in order to do that. And I think that also as a CL, culture of humility has been a big thing that I've been pushing personally with my residents, some of the people that I've come in contact with. And I think I would also want to continue to expand on culture of humility and make that traveler training available to everyone. Thank you.
And finally, the fourth question will be on the topic of COVID-19.
Mr. Tufengshin, what plans do you have to advocate for students being impacted by COVID-19, and how do you plan to make resources or services available to these students?
Yeah, this is arguably the biggest issue that we're facing right now in this present moment. And I'm actually the only candidate in this debate that has actually released a plan to address the issue, or even address the issue in the first place during this campaign season so far. I have a 3-step plan. It's called my Student Advocacy Plan. My first point is to bring resources to campus from the state government, the federal government, and also the city of Waco itself and other nonprofits within it. I also want to advocate for student organizations that are impacted it, whether that be financially through losing deposits for events, or whether it be rescheduling events or elections. I also want to work with the Department of Public Safety, who I already have a very good relationship with, to prevent and be more prepared for emergency situations like this. So I think the daylight with this issue is that I'm the candidate that has actually come up with a solution for this crisis, an actual response as an EVP candidate.
Mr. Pena, what plans do you have to advocate for students being impacted by COVID-19, and how do you plan to make resources or services available to these students?
Like it was said, this is definitely the biggest topic right now, because we're all at home. We're all trying to adjust to these unprecedented times. So what my platform is saying is we're trying to show students that we're doing our part to stop the spread of the virus, staying at home, but also having business go as usual. Things such as vertical, Dia del Oso, and even study abroad meetings are still going on campus. So my platform is to advocate for all those programs that make a positive impact in our students' lives, that they're still there, and they're still there for our students. And not only that, but we saw some local business leaders, such as churches and business leaders, get together and have these match funds where they raise funds and local business leaders match each other. And that's what I want to advocate for.
Mr. Sharon, what plans do you have to advocate for students being affected by COVID-19, and how do you plan to make resources or services available to these students?
Awesome. Thank you. And so specifically, a lot of my campaign is focused on sustainability as well. And while that is being good stewards of a lot of the resources that we have, it's also focused on the health of students and the mental health, emotional health, and all that comes with it in response to this. And so one of the big plans is creating some type of newsletter to be able to make it clear, concise with all the opportunities that are available. It also includes going out to organizations and being just willing and helpful with them to be able to reschedule events that are going on, to be able to maybe create meetings and offer spaces for students to be able to share what's been going on, offer support. But really, it's all about making the students' health the primary focus during this time. And I think, yeah, I feel confident being.
Ms. Kelleher, what plans do you have to advocate for students being impacted by COVID-19, and how do you plan to make resources or services available to these students?
I believe that it is our primary role at this uncertain time that we don't know what's holding for this semester, let alone next semester, that we promote resources for the counseling center, general wellness needs, storage needs through email, social media, and academic colleges, so that each student never feels as though they have to search for those resources, but they're being provided for them. Additionally, from a personal level, I think that it's crucial during this time to provide a sense of community and to check in and be thoughtful and extend extra empathy and consideration and thoughtfulness to our friends and our classmates, in knowing that as we all are unsure of what's happening, the best we can do is be thoughtful of the relationships and the community we form at this great university. Thank you.
That concludes our questions for the debate. We will now be moving on to closing statements. Mr. Tufengshin, you will begin. You have 30 seconds and you may begin whenever you are ready.
My campaign slogan is cultivating community. However, in a time of crisis like this, when marginalized groups like Asian Americans are being targeted for hate crimes and members of the African American community are dying and being infected by the COVID-19 pandemic at an alarming rate, we need to address diversity, inclusion, and COVID-19 head on. I'm the only candidate with a plan to address COVID-19, and I'm the most experienced candidate to address the diversity and inclusion on our campus. I hope that you vote Zach for EVP. I hope that you follow at Zach for EVP to learn more about my campaign. Thank you.
Mr. Pina, it is your turn for closing statements. You have 30 seconds and you may begin whenever you're ready.
Hello, guys. I hope you partner with Pato, because if you partner with Pato, you partner with Waco. My campaign is all about student leaders doing the best for their student community, and outside of that too, just building our Waco community. And I'm here to make sure that we build your experience. This is your experience. This is your time at Baylor, and whatever you want, this is what we are here for, to serve you as a student government. And I want to hear your voice, and I want to hear what you want on this platform. So partner with Pato, partner with Waco, diversity, inclusion, and environmental awareness.
Mr. Sharon, it is your turn for closing statements. You have 30 seconds and you may begin whenever you are ready.
Thank you. And so as we head on, I just want to reiterate that my primary focus is to serve you and to make sure that Baylor is the home for you. And whether that's restructuring Senate to make sure that it provides for diverse and inclusive backgrounds, as well as all of student government in my cabinet, as well as creating a monthly newsletter that's clear and concise with all the resources available, as well as pushing mental health counseling center, and then offering experience and training for culture humility. Please follow at Serve with Sharon to stay tuned. Thank you.
Ms. Kelleher, it is your turn for closing statements. You have 30 seconds and you may begin whenever you are ready.
Working on these initiatives and bringing the positive changes we've discussed today to our campus takes far more than one candidate serving in one role. However, it is crucial to choose candidates who have the skills to successfully lead a team that can and will bring these changes to our university. I have the most experience. I am committed to serving to all student groups on campus, and am passionate about further unifying the Baylor, Waco, and Big 12 communities. There is power in solidarity, and I believe now is a time more than ever that we must really dive into how we are better together. Thank you.
Well, that concludes our debate. I want to thank our candidates and panelists, and I also want to remind viewers that voting will be this Thursday and Friday, April 16th and 17th. To cast your vote, go to www.baylor.edu/student_government. The Baylor Lariat and Lariat TV News encourage you to exercise your right to vote in the student government election. Thank you for watching, and for Lariat TV News, I'm Grace Smith.